Okay, let's move to agenda item 4, our Finance Committee report, and we'll turn time over to Chair Davis.
Thank you. On item number 4.2, LEA fiscal auditing policies. The recommended action was that the board approves R277-113 LEA fiscal and auditing policies, draft 1 on second and final reading. And I have something to say about it if nobody else does.
Sure. Go ahead. The motion's been stated. Go ahead, Member Davis.
Okay. You'll think that I'm strange for voting no on this. And I know it will pass and it's fine, but I think we may need to revisit and bring it back. We have for years now had LEA saying we don't need to use contra revenue accounting to meet the demands of the laws and school fees. And we were told when it was initially put into place, we have to have it there because it meets GAAP by a board member who's no longer here. But our finance team has said, you do not have to have contra revenue accounting to meet GAAP standards. But we do need acceptable accounting principles. And so I was going to amend today, but now there's a piece of code that's in the legislature right now that may pass that is going to potentially require contra revenue or potentially not, and it's going to change up some of this. So, I mean, we're voting on this today, but depending on how this legislation turns out, I'm going to be requesting that it come back to be revisited again, potentially. I just want that background out there before we vote.
Will it come up by tomorrow, do you think?
No,
because then...
could come up by tomorrow.
Scott, I see you preparing to say something.
Could postpone to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones. Board Member Davis is referring to House Bill 397. House Bill 397, if it gets passed and then the governor signs it, would add more fees, which is a forcing function in the Senate. Well, it's not a forcing function, but the contra revenue piece would help. For additional background, the reason that right, wrong, or indifferent to this, or on the whole discussion, the contra revenue idea or count process was set up as a mechanism to track the waivers, the processes more closely or diligently. And it doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen if we remove the contra revenue account, but with the consideration of HB 397, I would recommend that the board consider bringing, that it come back once we know for sure what the second and third level effects are. Once we know if 397 passes and what those second and third level effects are. Thank you, sir.
Scott, genuine question is, I serve on this committee. We're waiting for a bill to maybe determine what's happening. What's the harm in if we vote this down? That just means we're not taking any action at this time, and we bring it back. If we vote it forward, then we're going to bring it back. Can you weigh out some pros and cons here of voting for this or voting not? It doesn't seem like it matters. Whether we vote for it or we don't, or vote against it, we're going to bring it back. Is that accurate?
I think that's accurate, Chair. So if you do I'll just say this, from a staff perspective, no matter which direction you proceed, we'll support whether we bring it back or not, whatever happens or not. Whatever you do here today, I'm sure we can adjust in the future depending on what outcomes or doesn't happen with the bill.
And
does that help, sir?
That does help. Thank
I'd
you.
like
And
to
Chair
make a
Davis,
substitute motion and postpone
please.
this to tomorrow, unfinished business portion of the meeting.
So we have a motion to postpone to tomorrow's unfinished business. We have a second. Back to Chair Davis.
Just for all the reasons discussed.
Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and vote. Is there any opposition to this, board members? Are there any that are saying, no, we'd rather do this now? We're gonna move that to tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, back to you, Chair Davis.
Thank you. The motion before the board is that the board review and potentially approve the research questions at USBE research priority for the UDRC research agenda. By way of quick background, this is a multi-agency research program that the state has, and in order to do research, it has to cover multi-agencies, not just one. And so the questions are provided there. And we also had asked our staff to provide just some more information on the technical aspects of the data exchange between the UDRC and the agencies.
Thank you, Chair Davis. The motion before the board then is that the board review and potentially approve the research questions as USBE research priority for the UDRC research agenda. Member Carey.
Just a question for the maker of the motion, if the chair approves, and that is, I'm seeing 5 questions in total. Are those the only questions that we're considering for approval?
Yes, sir,
And if
because
I'm-
they cross agencies.
just one thought, are there additional questions that are not within our purview that will be asked along with this survey? And these are the only 5 that pertain directly to us?
Yeah, these folks do a wide variety of research across the state in a wide variety of areas, but these are the only ones that would pertain to us.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So let me restate the motion, and we'll queue it up for a vote here. The motion is that the board review and potentially approve the research questions as USBE research priority for the UDRC research agenda. Let's go ahead and vote.
Didn't it take? Sorry. Yeah, thought I hit it.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. Back to Chair Davis.
Thank you. The next one has no motion for the board, but I did ask for it to be brought to you because it had been brought to you in the past. And the committee action for the federal waiver considerations were that the committee directs staff to continue federal school improvement and support schools in need. Again, this is just a direction to staff. It wasn't a vote for the board. Unless one of you wants to change it, the reason we did that is because the federal government and Department of Education is in flux at the moment. If any of you listen to the news this morning, it's especially in flux today. So we just put everything on hold, and we're going to kind of see how things fall out.
Thank you. Does that conclude our report out then for finance? Chair Davis?
Sorry, one more time.
Does that conclude our report out then?
That is, yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's let's go to agenda item 5, Standards and Assessment Committee Report. Chair Earl.
We do not have any action items for the board today, so if you wanted to go listen to our committee meeting from last time, it was a great discussion, so that's what I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you.